welcome back to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. My name is Charles, and with me today, as always, is my lifelong friend and co-host, Dylan.
I'm ready to talk some announcements with my friend Charles.
I'm ready to talk some announcements with my friend as well, Dylan. And it's going to be a shorter one now. This is our third episode of the week, which is been a long time since we've done 3 episodes in a week. But don't worry, this is just a simple announcements video. This is a culmination of Friends Pitching Fantasy Week. And we also have some other very exciting news to share as well. To recap where we've gone so far, Friends Pitching Fantasy has been underway. We released an episode on Monday where I pitched 3 books to Dylan. We released an episode on Wednesday where Dylan pitched 3 books to me. And now we are here to announce what our selections are. Dylan has to pick one of mine. I get to pick one of his. We went on to the socials. We polled the audience. We have done some reflecting, some personal meditations on which books we want to read next. And we've come here today ready to announce the winners. Isn't that so, Dylan?
Yes, it's been a period of personal growth for both of us this last week as we've meditated, as you say, on which of the others pitched books we're going to choose. But I'm ready, Charles, and I hope you are too. Should we get right into that?
Let's get right into it. On Monday, we released my pitches. I pitched 3 books to you. I pitched The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I pitched The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And then I picked The Black Tongue Thief by, what's The Black Tongue Thief? Christopher
Buehlman.
Buehlman, thank you. By Christopher Buehlman. And what an exciting 3 pitches those were. We took to the socials. You had a tough time with the socials because it was almost like our Twitter poll was like almost evenly split, like 30-30-30. Black Tongue Thief skewed ahead just a little bit, but man, it was like super even. I couldn't believe how close it was. I was like, I don't know how helpful that was to you to see like 33% along the board almost.
Yeah, by the end, Black Tongue Thief did pull ahead to about 40%, with the others splitting close to 30% each. But yeah, it's tough. You can tell that all of these books are ones that are beloved by the community. Charles, on the other hand, you had pretty much a blowout on Twitter regarding
it was
which
exactly
of the books
as I predicted on Wednesday, by the way.
It was. Yeah, off the air, we had a discussion what we expected the polls to end up looking like, and Charles definitely nailed what the Twitter poll would look like for us. It was, or for my pitched books, Jade War and Jade Legacy, the 2 remaining books for us in the Greenbones saga, absolutely ran away with it. It was Charles, what did it end up there? Did you check at the end on Twitter?
The poll in front of me, but it was in the 60 plus percent.
58%.
Oh, okay.
58%
so 58%
by the end. That's still a runaway when you look at the others, which you're looking at second place Rage Your Dragons with 27%. And Tigana, a book from 1990, probably doesn't have the same buzz as the more recent books. So that one ended up with just 15%. So, Charles, we also did Instagram polls on that one. The Greenbone Saga books for you just barely edged out the Rage of Dragons
that way at
by,
first.
I think, 1 vote.
Yeah, it wasn't like Rage of Dragons
Rage
had
of Dragons had an early lead. Yeah. And then when it came to my books, ended up with actually a tie between House in the Cerulean Sea on Instagram and Black Tongue Thief with, Spear Cuts Through Water trailing behind. So there was a pattern that emerged for me, but obviously very close.
Very close, a tie. That's crazy. So it went from one that had a tie to the other one that was nearly evenly split. You had, I think, a harder choice than me. I'm not gonna lie here. In terms of like audience preference, right? There's a clear
Yeah.
like runaway, and I have to decide whether I'm gonna go with that or not. For me, but for you, the audience did not kind of go either way. There was a little bit of a squeak ahead on some, a tie on others. So, Dylan, what are you going to pick?
Well, Charles, this really came down to last minute where I almost changed my mind right before this episode, right before we started recording. But I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to go with The Black Tongue Thief by
Wow.
Christopher Buehlman. I am choosing that because the pattern that emerged was slightly in favor of Black Tongue Thief by the audience. I absolutely love thieves. I absolutely love rogues. I love funny books. And I already also own a copy of this book to give them a peek behind the curtain. So that makes it a little bit easier as well. I was so close to House in the Cerulean Sea, though, Charles, I have to say. And I might start reading that one just on my own as well, because that one looks awesome, as does A Spear Cuts Through Water. But for me, I was kind of torn between House and Cerulean Sea, Black Tongue Thief, and the audience, especially the Twitter poll, was, I think, about 40%, like we said, for Black Tongue Thief. And that just pushed me over the edge for a book
Wow.
that seems really, really exciting and seems so beloved by the community. Also, a lot of comments saying Black Tongue Thief, I think, which,
Right.
that swayed me a little bit as well. So we'll see. I hear the audiobook is great on it. Maybe I'll audiobook that. And maybe I'll even read House on Cerulean Sea, the physical copy at the same time, just for funsies.
The audiobook's great
But
on
for
Black Tongue Thief.
that's what I heard that the narration
good to
someone
know.
said. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering who you are, but thank you for contributing and saying that the narration was like your favorite of the last year or something like that. And I was like, okay, that's noted. So for friends talking fantasy, one of our next two books will be the Black Tongue Thief. I'm getting tongue-tied over here. The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman.
Excellent
And
choice, Dylan.
I
will
can't be
say
more
this.
excited, Charles.
I
Yeah.
can't be more excited either. Like I said in the pitch, like it doesn't surprise me that it won on the Twitter poll. It actually honestly surprised me as to how close it was, because we've been recommended this book a ton. I think like the books that we've read and the audience that we've kind of attracted, this book is right in line with all of those things, right? But I will say I went out of my way to pick palate cleanser refreshers, and then I put Black Tongue Thief in there because I knew it was gonna cater to your tastes, and I was like, well, we'll see if he goes for one of the palate cleansers or if it's business as usual here on the FTF podcast. And and in some ways I'm glad you chose it, because
I never eat the ginger when we're eating sushi
you'll skip
because
the ginger.
just keep that fishy taste in my mouth. And that's what I'm doing by picking another grimdark book. It
With,
might be disgusting,
witty rogues, I
but
guess.
yes, but I just can't help myself.
And I don't
It's
blame
like
you
it's
one
like
bit.
Sam and Nigiri. Can't get enough.
You just always got to keep ordering it. As much as you want to experiment, you don't want to get away from the favorites. And I hear you on that. I'm super excited to get into it. If you guys hear jingling, that's my puppy playing with toys. But yeah, that's very exciting. Super excited to get into that. And now that only leaves my choice. I mean, you left me with three tough ones: Tagana by Guy Gavriel Kay, Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, and then the rest of the Greenbone saga, starting with the second book, Jade War by Fonda Lee. And I immediately knew I was not going to pick Tigana, Peace and Love. I read it already, loved the book, so much I want to say about it, but I knew that like these other two books were just too like hot right now to kind of ignore. So I did not know how I was going to choose.
Greenbone Saga is so hot right now.
So hot right now. And I was torn between the two. I knew that Twitter was going to run away with the Greenbone saga, but honestly, it was still, a considerable amount of votes for Rage of Dragons. And then on Instagram, it was pretty close, right? it was like within one vote or
Yes,
something.
on Instagram, yeah, it just pulled out at the end, the
Which just
Greenbone Saga
goes
by
to
one vote.
show that we picked some really tough choices here when you get near ties like across like both of our things. So I think that's something we should be proud of. Lots of great books out there. Only one can be picked, and as much as I would love to read one of these picks, I ultimately went with like, look, we've already read the first one, so let's finish this series. You gotta respect the runaway Twitter poll as well. I'm choosing Jade War by Fonda Lee, and then Jade Legacy as well, book 3. So finish out the Greenbone Saga, finish our discussion on Fonda Lee, and give the fans what they're asking for too. And I don't blame them, because this is a series that everyone says you have to finish it. It's so good. And I'm ready to see what that's about. So I'm picking Fonda Lee. I'm picking the Greenbone Saga.
You have chosen wisely, Charles. I'm pumped about this one. I think we got to see what everyone's saying where they say, "Oh, you have to finish the whole series." And I respect that you respect the Twitter poll and the listeners,
Be a
because
bold move to
that's
have
what we're
like
here for, right?
70% choose a book and then not choose it. I feel like that's a bold move. I was ready to make it though. I was like, I do kind of want to read Evan Winter,
Yeah.
and it was just like, at one point, I'm like, why am I doing that to everyone that voted? That's kind of the deciding factor there. So thank you guys for making my choice a little easier. Appreciate that.
That's how I felt about the Black Tongue Thief to a lesser extent, because it's not like it ran away. But when you're just absolutely torn, the listeners make it easy on you
Yeah.
and help you out. And I think for me, because I think Black Tongue Thief had 13% more of the vote than did House
Right.
on Cerulean Sea on Twitter,
Right.
because House actually came in last on Twitter, which surprised me. Not by a lot, obviously. I think it was like 27% to
Which
40%,
is
something
still
like that.
pretty close, but it's a decisive victory, and you got to take that into consideration.
Yes.
So there
I
we
think
go.
we've got, yeah, two awesome books/series, Charles, because you did choose to finish a series. That's locked us in for our next 3 books then, and I'm super pumped to
Yeah.
get into both of those. But Charles, there's more. There's more for us to do on this
There's
issue,
more.
and maybe we'll get to
So
that at the
I
end of the
think
episode.
I was thinking the same thing, guys. Now that
we-
we've picked 2 books, the question is, which one do we read first? And historically, with friends pitching fantasy, we've done the good old virtual coin toss, which we are going to do in this episode.
Called a coin toss instead of a coin flip. That's
Oh.
bold, Charles.
Coin flip, coin toss. Didn't mean to spark some controversy here. I'm sorry. Call it what you will.
I wasn't ready.
Coin flip. But before we get into that, Dylan, we have some exciting news to share, don't we?
We definitely do, Charles. We will be recording our first ever live episode of Friends Talking Fantasy. And by live, I mean going on, like, what's that word? Synchronously? Anyway, point being, we're going to be recording it live via the TBRCon 2023 virtual convention. And when I say virtual, that means that this is a stream that you can just hop on youtube.com/fanfiaddict, and it'll be on Sunday, January 29th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That will allow you to join us and I believe make live comments as we record an episode if you so choose. And it's something that we're super excited to do. We're pumped to be invited to be part of a convention that has a lot of our favorite authors and content creators and all of that kind of stuff. So thanks to Adrian at SFF Addicts Pod, and thanks to all FanFi Addict. This is going to be really cool for us. I hope some of y'all will be able to make it. I think that it's kind of a step in another direction for us, and it's been promised that we will chat books and swoon you with our trademark geeky charm, according to the
What a
according
blurb.
to the announcement of our our panel on this convention, or I don't know, panel, our live recording on this convention.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we have to bring you the geeky charm, TM, or
We'll
we
do
are
our
not
best.
living up to our billing.
So when
Yeah.
and where is this happening now? It's on YouTube. It's next week, right? Next weekend.
Yeah, I'll give him that again then. It's Sunday, January 29th at 9 a.m. Eastern. You can find it at youtube.com/fanfiaddict. And I'm sure we'll drop links and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff as we're leading up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've never done anything like this before, but this is a free virtual convention. You just got to go to YouTube.
Yep.
And yeah, so to give the
And we'll
details
be
of the rest of the
live.
convention live. So you can see me and Charles in all of our geeky goodness. Geeky goodness. Ugh.
Not as good as Geeky Charm.
And geeky charm. And yeah, actually interact with us during the episode. We don't know exactly what kind of episode we're going to do. We'll figure
To
that
be
out behind the
determined.
scenes.
It's TBD for the
Yeah.
TBR con.
TBD for TBR. But yeah, we'll do something hopefully that can allow for audience participation, and hopefully we'll get enough of a showing where that is feasible for
Wake
us.
up early on Sunday, guys.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, 9 a.m. Eastern is going to be 7 a.m. in Mountain Time, where I am currently located.
And 6 a.m.
So,
for all
I'm
you,
waking up early for you all.
for all you West Coast fans. So set your alarms.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll get a lot of folks waking up at 6 a.m. over in California.
Should probably
to
set it a little
tune
earlier,
in.
like 5:30, so you can, get up, you can get your coffee made and tune in, or you can just, turn it on your phone from the bed. Why not? It's live. It's free.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yes, we will hopefully see you there. To give the details of the convention overall, TBRCon 2023, it takes place January 22nd through 29th, meaning we're starting off the last day.
Yeah.
And are honored by that position. And it is, entirely free, like I said. It's sponsored by The Broken Binding. It's sponsored by the Story Engine deck. It's going to be also sponsored by Space Cowboy Books, which is a bookstore in Joshua Tree, California. I'm sure
out.
they'll be waking up at 5:30 for us. And you can tune in to all sorts of folks. You check out SFF Addicts Pod on Instagram or Twitter. Adrian over there has been announcing all these for a while. So yeah, that's pretty much that.
Pretty cool lineup. Lots of authors, writers, lots of great discussions around the SFF literature community that you're not going to want to miss. And we're just excited to be a part of it. So be sure to check it out if you're available. And we'll see you live on YouTube. But before we go, we have one more thing to figure out, right, Dylan? And that is, what book are we going to read next? We have 2 books as the result of our Friends Pitching Fantasy Week. We have Black Tongue Thief, and then we have Jade War / Jade Legacy. Like we had teased before, that virtual coin flip is happening now.
Everyone loves a virtual coin flip.
Everyone loves it.
What could be more exciting, Charles, than a coin toss, as you say, in an entirely audio format?
Entirely
we are recording
audio
this now, so maybe there'll be a short, like a little short.
I mean, for all of our
video.
podcast listeners, it's going to still remain audio, but we've been trying to do some short form video stuff, so maybe you'll see this soon on the socials. But can you see this, Dylan?
I can see this. You've searched coin flip into Google,
I sure
which is a
have.
search engine.
Yeah.
And remarkably, it has come up with a flip a coin option. No one's saying toss, but that's okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to click the flip button. Dylan, while it's in the air, I'll let you choose heads or tails for your book. So you'll call it, and if it's what you called.
Which one's my book? Is it the book I selected or the
Black
book
Tongue? Actually, good question. Which do you want it to be? Call it for maybe Black Tongue.
Well,
Thief.
Sure, I'll call it for Black Tongue.
And
it's going to be in the air, Charles?
I think so. I didn't really test it.
Have you used this?
I'm pretty sure it flips. This? So just look out for it. And
I can't say it before.
Here it goes. The virtual audio only, except for you social video people, coin flip. And we are flipping the coin in 3, 2.
Drum roll, please.
1. Flip.
Heads.
And it is heads.
Heyo.
Heyo. So that means we're reading Black Tongue Thief first, right?
That's exactly what that means.
Woo!
So we're going to be jumping into Christopher Buehlman's The Black Tongue Thief before you know it now. And I am so excited. Get some awesome, grim, dark thievery and roguery, as well as a lot of humor injected into this one. And we'll be bringing you a discussion on that before you know it.
Yes, before you know it. I'm super excited to get into it. Can't wait. Maybe I'm going to go check out that audiobook. But for now, thank you all so much for listening and checking in on us. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you at TBRCon. And until then, Dylan, I think the only thing left to do is play that sweet, sweet outro music.
Let's get that sweet, sweet outro music pumping, Charles.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to yet another very exciting episode of the Friends Talking Fantasy Podcast. If you like what you heard today, check us out over on the socials. That's at the FTF Podcast on Instagram and the FTF Podcast with a number 1 at the end over on Twitter. Now, Dylan, if they like what they heard today and they want to support the show even further than following us on social media, what can they do?
Toss 5 stars to our podcast, which you can now do on Spotify. It's just 2 clicks away over at the top of the Friends Talking Fantasy feed over there on Spotify, where most of you are listening. You can also write a review and or rate 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But just listening is more than enough. Thank you so much for this little announcement episode. We appreciate that you care enough to listen to what's going on with us, and we hope that you are going to join us Sunday, January 29th at 9 a.m. Eastern for the live show.
Well said, and that's another Friends Pitching Fantasy in the books, dare I say, and we will see you next time.
Nice.
We've got the Stormlight Archive coming, and then we'll be off to read Black Tongue Thief. So thank you all so much for listening. You guys are awesome, and as always, go forth and conquer, friends.